So for me, without question, wine is an expression. It's an art form. And I believe that most artists would agree that art is storytelling. Now, stories can be told over the course of several generations. A story can be told in a couple of hours. A story can be told in a single moment. Time and space are really just variables of the equation. And when I discovered that wine wasn't just an alcoholic beverage, that a bottle could encapsulate a story, I suddenly became more passionate about the topic. I needed to know more about the wine industry, and most importantly, I needed to study the history of the beverage. So I spent years of my life living in wine country, so I'm very used to doing just this. Strolling down the paths, down the trellises of the vines. I always found that it was a great way to clear your head, to reflect on the past, but it's also almost a spiritual experience as well. There's something very exciting about standing where such a creative process is occurring. This is where man and nature come together to tell that story in the form of beverage. So knowing that I was going to be in this environment today, I brought 2 appropriate candles with me. Now these may look like 2 sawed in half bottles of sparkling wine, but I assure you that they are candles indeed. CandleLuxe.com kindly asked me if I would share my thoughts, my opinions, my notes, my sensory evaluation of these 2 fragrances, 2 products that they produce. I told them absolutely. The deal is you send me stuff, I open that stuff, I smell that stuff, I share my thoughts with you folks. Now, it's important to mention that this is not a sponsored video. I'm not being paid to say anything positive or negative or anything for that matter about these products. No secret agenda. Now, what's interesting about this company, Candle Luxe, is that they're utilizing bottles of prestigious champagnes and even spirits. The 2 products they sent me are going to be made from 2 bottles of Dom Perignon. Dom Perignon being one of the most renowned champagnes in all the world, synonymous with luxury and high-class living. It's of course a product of France, owned by Moet Chandon. I always think of Ritz and glam of Hollywood when I think of Dom Perignon. The finest occasions in your life are to be celebrated with Dom Perignon. And these 2 bottles are a bit different, as you can see. The first one I will be evaluating is a 2006 vintage Brut. Now, Dom Perignon doesn't release a vintage every year. They only release vintage champagne on the best of the best years. And 2006 is going to be their most recent vintage. The second candle is going to be a non-vintage Brut with a very special label, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So the first thought that came to my mind when I heard about this company was, are these fragrances trying to mimic Dom Perignon, champagne or sparkling wine? Or are the vessels just a supplement to the luxury candle itself? I do have to say that I have given these a brief sniff, but I'm really going to do the bulk of my evaluation right here in front of you guys, and starting with this one right here. Now, these candles are not labeled as far as fragrance is concerned. This is exactly how I received them. No fragrance attached, just 2 different labels. And it's good having this sun right here, because the sun is getting the top of the wax warm enough where it's really throwing off a lot of aromatics. I just want to give this one a quick smell real quick to confirm something. Okay, so these are what I would call perfume candles. These are going to be very complex. Now, this first candle is very approachable. The first thing that comes to mind is the fruitiness. starting with the citrus, bergamot, or lime zest. But it's not just that citrus. There's some bramble fruit like blackberries, blackcurrant, cassis. So after that initial fruitiness, we start to get into the herbaceous notes. And for me, this is reminding me a whole lot of green tea or matcha. Matcha is a form of green tea that's been macerated and it's cultivated in a very specific way. So I'm imagining green tea with the addition of honey. There's a lot of sweetness coming through, getting that raw honey smell. Whenever I get to use this descriptor, I love it. Juniper berry. Juniper berry is used in most gins during the distilling process. And that, with the citrus, with those herbaceous notes, is really giving this a specialty chilled cocktail effect. Along with that juniper berry, I'm also getting a little bit of like pine or cypress, a little bit of this woodsy outdoors note. And we got to talk about florals. What makes this candle so approachable is lavender. This is a very soft lavender. If you're not into the lavender thing, don't worry. It's going to be well incorporated into the fragrance. Also picking up on some violet as well. So not a pungent flower, a very soft, again, approachable floral aroma. And what's really starting to sell this concept to me, especially because it's in this Dom Perignon bottle, is the vanillin quality. The vanilla, there's a vanilla softness. And with that fruit, with those florals, this is really starting to bridge that perfume with authentic champagne notes. And one last thing, rosewood. So for me, the culmination of this candle reminds me of sitting out on a porch on a sunny, warm afternoon, sipping on a chilled or iced cocktail, one that perhaps has gin and some form of infused green tea, obviously a little bit of citrus, a very refreshing scent. I find it hard to believe that anybody would be turned off by a fragrance like this because of how approachable and friendly it is. So before we jump into this evaluation of the second candle, I need to cut to an image in the dark. Do you see that? Yes, this bottle here is a part of Dom Perignon's Luminous collection. It's battery operated, and simply by tapping a button on the bottom of the jar is going to fully illuminate that neon green label. But if you're burning this candle, it adds to the overall experience, the ambiance, and of course, the illumination. Let's jump into it. First impressions right off the bat, much more of a masculine approach than the previous candle. And with that said, I do want to say that these do share a lot of similar qualities, but this one is going to push the envelope as far as that outdoorsy profile. A lot more of that green, grassy, herbaceous, earthy woodiness coming through. As far as the fruit, it really does, for me, still have that bergamot and that bramble fruit, especially the blackberry. But something else I'm picking up here, tree fruit, whether that be apples or pears, and Dole pineapple. That's right, big, juicy, fruity, ripe pineapple. And what's great about that is that contrasts that outdoorsy, masculine, earthy, woody side to this aroma. Something that I'm getting on this candle that, yeah, I was not getting on that candle is a rose petal. That luxurious satin rose petal, that freshly clipped rose stem. So that floral is really going to be a little bit more aggressive than the gentle violet and lavender of the last fragrance. This has a deep warmth to it in the form of gray amber and a very earthy, woody patchouli. Now, if you don't like patchouli, if you don't like amber, again, Don't let that turn you off. These are base notes that are really going to serve as a foundation of this whole profile. If you are into the more cologne or perfume-driven fragrances, and if you are a sparkling wine / champagne lover, how gorgeous are these bottles? These are real Dom Perignon bottles. These are not fakes. These are recycled, which for me adds to the overall value of the experience. So 2 very complex fragrances, and if you're interested in these products or any of the other products by Candle Luxe, make sure you check out the description below. I'll link up their website and their social media handles. Reach out to them, let them know that you saw this evaluation, this video. I'm sure they can help guide you, point you in the right direction if you're interested in one of these particular fragrances. So it's been a beautiful day in upstate New York in wine country. Finally, I have that sun in my face, blue skies, lovely weather, and I want to thank you folks for joining me on this evaluation today. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you think about that. Lots of fun content coming up in the near future, but until then, I'll see you folks real soon. Have a good one.